Saw in my post yesterday about the dinner, I had some really yummy homemade bread, and this has saved me. It's a staple that I make all the time. I learned how to make it probably over 10 years ago, and pretty much it's mostly the only bread that I make just because it's so simple and you can't really mess it up. So I'm going to show you really quickly, and it doesn't take a ton of time. So there are only 4 ingredients in this bread. There's salt, yeast, water, and flour. And in the link below, I will put a link for the recipe and for the tools that I use. But pretty simple. So you start off with 3 cups of flour. Add in a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. And I really like this recipe because it uses very little yeast. It rises naturally on the counter all day, so you hardly need any yeast at all. And then 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt. And that is it for the dry ingredients. Once you get the dry ingredients in, this is called a Danish whisk, and I really have no clue why this special design works, but it does. You can find these on Amazon for super cheap. I use these all the time for like muffins, this bread. It just is a really great tool. So pretty much you just need to do a couple stirs, and that will get it all the way stirred in. And then I'm going to take my 1 1/2 cups of water. And the water doesn't have to be any certain temperature. Cold water I think works the best. And then you're just going to take your Danish whisk and just start to incorporate it. So you're just going to start to incorporate it. You just do these easy strokes to just get all of the water in. And what I like to do, once I get most of the flour in, then I like to do a few stirs and kind of pull up the dough to get more of the sticky part that's right on the whisk back into the bowl, and then keep stirring. Lift up, get the sticky part back into the bowl, and it'll start incorporating really quickly. And you know it's done when it kind of starts to clean the sides of the bowl. It'll end up just making a big glob on this Danish whisk, but just keep releasing the glob and just keep going around the bowl. And once the sides of your bowl start to get clean, that's when you know it's ready. So I'll give you a good shot of what that looks like. Okay, so now my dough is incorporated, and I'm just going to take out the Danish whisk. Kind of use my fingers to get that off of there. And then this whisk is super easy to clean. You just put it in the sink in the dishwater and just kind of rub it like this, and it will all come clean. It's super easy. So that's what it looks like. I had to do no kneading, nothing, just stick it in like this. And then the trick to this is it's going to sit on your counter for anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, and that's going to be its first rising. You can do that if you can start at night and leave it until the morning and do the second part 2 in the morning, or before you go to work, you can hurry and mix it up. I like to do it while I'm getting the lunches ready for school, and then by about 2 o'clock, I'm ready to do my step number 2. So at this point, you just cover it and let it sit on your counter. I really like to cover it with a shower cap. These are $1 right now in the Target bin, and just cover it and set it on your counter. Okay, step 2. So it's the afternoon, and I've let this rest on my counter all day, and this is kind of what it looks like. It's just a big blob. Step number 2 is just pour some flour out on a pan, and I just kind of flatten it so that anywhere that the dough touches, it's going to touch flour and not the board. And then just going to take the dough, scrape it out of the pan into a big glob down on my flour. And then I'm going to take the dough and just kind of pull the edges in so that everything, so it makes a nice, like kind of roundish loaf. And then I'm going to pinch the bottom so it looks just like that after I pinch it. And then I'm going to flip it so that now this has flour on top, and now the bottom gets all nice and floured. And then I just kind of roll it around a little bit to make the shape a little bit better, and to also make sure that everything, all the edges and everything get dough on them. Then use parchment paper. I like to get this parchment paper from Costco. It comes in a 2-pack and it lasts me years. And I just get a little piece big enough to go over the top of the bowl. Get a clean bowl. The shape of the bowl is going to be the shape of your bread. So I like to get this size of bowl. Just put the parchment paper on top of the bowl, lift up your loaf, and just stick it right on. And that's it. That's it for step 2. Put the shower cap back on. And I'm going to put this back on my counter, and it can sit on your counter from anywhere from about 2.5 to maybe 4 hours from the second rising. And then when that's done, all we have to do is bake it. So, okay, back for step 3. So this has sat on my counter all afternoon for about maybe 2.5 hours. And I'm going to take off the shower curtain carefully. And it is raised really nicely. I'll make sure and take a good picture, but it's got some nice bubbles. And I've got my oven heated up to 400 if it's a regular oven, 375 if it's a convection. And I'm just going to open it up. I have a stone heating up in here. And all I'm going to do is take the parchment paper by the corners and just carefully put it into the oven, and it will retain its shape. I'm just going to lift it up and stick it in the oven like that. And I'm going to shut the door, set the timer for about 25 minutes, and takes about 25 to 30 minutes, but I'll check on it in 25 and I'll show you what's in the timer. Just went off and it's ready to take out the oven. And I just like to pull it out in the parchment paper, stick it on a cooling rack. And then if you like a crispy crust, like more of an artisan crust, you can just leave it like this and it'll have a hard crust and a soft inside. But I really like it soft, so I just take some butter and rub the outside. And there you go. Voila. It is done. A beautiful loaf of bread for dinner tonight.